All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless me here talking about the music industry. I have a patron who I'm going to be sharing some of what he had to say about things and doing it in real time for, yes, very real people out there, just like you and just like me. So, my buddy Walter, who's probably been a patron for I don't know how many years, like many years since I was trying to figure out how to use Patreon, probably. Walter has been a dedicated follower of this channel and also a supporter of this channel. So, Walter, I appreciate your support very much, and all you other patrons out there as well. But Walter sent me a unique message, so I figured I would talk about this. Before I get going, here's an album that I think Walter might like, so I'm actually sharing it here from a few years back. Blade Cisco. You won't hear anyone talking about Blade Cisco. I actually complimented the song, and the record label is like, "Would you like a copy of Blade Cisco?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay," which is unusual because I ask other record labels and you get free publicity. This is the mind blowing thing. I'm going to show this and I'm going to talk about it. And I have thousands of subscribers, although I don't have thousands of viewers for some reason because the algorithm, again, isn't my fan. But anyway, Blade Cisco, it's hard rocking stuff, very melodic. You can compare it to Journey a little bit. It's the Italian version. Everything it tastes like chicken, sounds like Journey. It's kind of the same thing. But there are other influences here. I think bands like the Scorpions and maybe Europe and some of that stuff rubbed off on these guys. But anyway, Blade Cisco, that's for my buddy Walter. Now, Walter sends me a fairly long message, but it's worth listening to. This is the working man's perspective here, and I appreciate that. He says, "Hey, Dave, hope that you had a great weekend and that all is well in your world with you and your family. I'm doing well and have been keeping up on a lot of your topics lately. And the major one that really gets under my skin, besides COVID, by the way, the other day, the CDC put out new guidance about the thing. They said that now you should kind of more or less treat it like the flu." Oh, sorry. How many years have we been like trying to slowly back out of the room? Yeah, it's kind of like the flu. We're telling you now, it's kind of like the flu, treat it like the flu. The problem is the damage has already been done because people are still walking around. When you got the flu before, did you go out and wear a mask? Did you do that when you got the flu? I don't remember people doing that. So there are people that are going to wear those things for the rest of their lives. Okay. And that's what we call the new normal. Anyway, and he's complaining about leftist politics or leftist policies. Keep in mind, my channel is an equal opportunity offender channel, but I know where he's coming from. He says he subscribed to my channel in the first place because he wanted to keep up with things like the decline of true rock radio in the States and in the music industry. He says, first off, I'm so sick and tired of hearing when most people saying that music is music and we shouldn't have to put them in genres and everyone should like all the music to fit the inclusion crowd. Now, he might be responding to the video I did yesterday about I'm not a fan of the trans genre movement. Again, not to trip the algorithm here. Don't want to trip the algorithm. The word is genre. Okay. All right. And it was a bit of a pun. But anyway, he may have been watching that, and that probably struck a chord with him. Anyway, I'm here to tell that people are individuals. They have different tastes and different likes for musical styles, and it should all be good. If it's not bad enough that Mr. Eddie, I've seen it and heard it all before, Trunk, All right, full stop. Okay. First of all, Eddie, I'm a fan. I'm not going to throw you under the bus. I'm not throwing shade at you. We are not competitors because you have a huge audience and I do not. I think we're about the same age, and we may have some similar stories dating back to the 80s. Although you were on the inside, you were a record label guy, if I recall. You've got a much better speaking voice for radio than I do. Although I may have a better presentation. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Eddie is really good at what he does. But Eddie Trunk has taken shots at record labels like Frontiers Music, and Frontiers puts out a lot of good stuff. Most of that stuff is over my shoulder. So, and I do a lot of free promotion for Frontiers Music because Eddie Trunk doesn't. Anyway, he complained, I think at one point, that Frontiers was just releasing too much music. They're putting out too much music. Walter says he cherry picks bands and things because he knows them back from the day. That's a pretty insightful argument. That's a guy who probably pays way more attention to Eddie Trunk than I do. He does have an obsession with certain bands. And it's a little weird sometimes because I keep hearing about the same bands. And it's okay. You know, I mean, I like certain bands. I talk a lot, obviously, about Journey. But, you know, Eddie, he's got kind of this, I don't know. There are a few bands that he tends to focus on. All right. And it's okay. I just don't understand why there aren't a lot of other bands. And then when you factor in all of these supposed just project bands from Frontiers, they wouldn't just be project bands. Like I have the Defiance is a band that's right behind me on the shelf. They are kind of like the remnants of Danger. That should be something that Eddie Trunk is all over. But he tends to focus on LA Guns. Okay. And by the way, I think LA Guns is on the Frontiers music label now. So that's kind of weird. But anyway, just putting it out there. Look, Eddie has the right to like what he wants to like. Walter, though, goes on to say, don't get me started on my local radio stations. And although I may not like every CD that you preview, I do miss how real AOR radio was when they were able to take requests. And he goes on to say, have giveaways and just took more chances than what they're doing right now. It's so sad that a lot of great music won't be heard just because their program directors have their heads so far up inside the corporate's hindquarters. Okay. And it's not funny. So please let me know what you think. Well, first of all, Walter, it's a great note that you sent me. He says, thanks and keep rocking. I love about 80 to 85% of your, I love how it gets to 80. It's between 80 and 85% of your new melodic hard rock and East Coast, West Coast, smooth jazz, adult contempt stuff that you preview every so often. Please bring back Ches Kane and the Frost Duo. And thanks in advance. There's Walter. Good guy. So yeah, I kind of addressed that as I went along. Yeah, I don't know what it is with LA Guns. They're just certain bands. There are a lot of bands that appeared on the scene like in 88 and 89. And that's where Eddie seems to gravitate to. He's catering to a certain audience, a nostalgic audience. Now, he has this thing against Kiss, and he and I are in agreement there. I think he likes Ace Frehley. I like Ace's new album. I'm not sure about the vocals, but if you're used to Ace and the way he sings, then people are telling me that it is one of his best albums ever, like in the history of Ace Frehley. So go listen to it. I listened to a lot of it and I was impressed. There were hooks, there were cool guitar riffs. Again, vocally speaking, I grew up listening to Survivor, Foreigner, Journey. Kiss was not a band I spent a lot of time with. All right. So I was used to these powerhouse singers, and no offense to Paul Stanley or Gene Simmons or even Ace Frehley. Unfortunately, none of those guys in Kiss can hold a candle to any of those aforementioned bands. But that's just me. Now, some people are more into Kiss because they're a show and the music is kind of secondary. I always put the music above the show. If the music stinks, you can't rescue it with a great show. You can try, but at the end of it, you're going to be thinking to yourself, boy, those guys sound horrible. That's all you're going to remember. All these songs I grew up listening to, they butchered every last one of them. So, but I'm different. Some people just, they know what's happening. They know that a lot of these bands are aging out. They're just losing their mojo. And so they're just grabbing on and holding on for one last time or whatever, so they can see their heroes out there strutting around with their pot bellies. Loverboy. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. It's not like I'm working out here or anything. But then again, I'm not on stage fronting an 80s rock band. But it might be good to hire a personal trainer if you're that far into it and you're making like $10,000 a show, per person, which is probably what they're making, if not more in certain situations. And you might want to pull out all the stops. You might want to get a nutritionalist, and you might want to get a personal trainer, and you might want someone to style your hair. You might want to do that. But then again, maybe it doesn't matter because you're catering to a bunch of people who are, consuming large quantities of beer and have pretty much let themselves go and did that about 20 years ago. So I'm sorry. This is kind of a pathetic video, but I want to thank Walter for some great comments because he's spot on with his analysis. And here's an album for Walter, Blade Cisco. I just pulled this out because I don't think I've talked about this, or I did one time for the record label who sent me this. Burning Minds is the name of this record label. I think they're from Italy or Germany or somewhere like that. But they were nice enough to send this to me because I complimented the lead single off of it. And I can't remember which song that is now, but it's all really good. It's well done. It may not be to the level of the bands you grew up listening to, but we take what we can get and see, that's the problem. We don't really have a support system for the stuff that I'm talking about. So where is it going to go? Probably nowhere. And Eddie Trunk, maybe once a month, brother, maybe bring someone on from one of these bands and talk about it for 5 minutes on your show. You don't have to eat up the entire show. People want to hear about the drama and the intrigue and all the old bands trying to crank up the motor again and get out there. But there are a lot of up and coming bands, mostly from other countries, who I think some of your audience might be interested in. That's it. I'm not going to tell Eddie Trunk what to do. I'm sure he has to do what they tell him to do in order to get that large paycheck. I would probably be doing the same thing. Hence, this is why I have a dinky little YouTube channel here. It's just, and I'm trying. It's been how many years, and I'm still, plugging along here. And who knows? Maybe someday I'll hit 100,000 subscribers, and they'll send me that little YouTube plaque, or fairly medium-sized YouTube plaque. But for now, it's you and I. So if you want to buy me a coffee, there's a way to do that. Also, Patreon, YouTube members, subscribers who can hit that button and then it drops down and you click on where it says all. I have Dan to thank for that, who has been vigilant in trying to get me a little bit more into technology. I'm not, but I'm trying. I know it's for my own good. It's like taking medicine. I don't want to do it, but here I am trying to do it. So again, thanks for watching. God bless everyone. Continue to pray for peace around the world and in the Middle East, and pray for peace in your hearts. 2024, it's a crazy year. Hopefully it's not going to be anything like 2020 or 2021, but we'll see.